Welcome to Igniter Spotlight, where we share our latest learned experience video, taking you on a journey through personal stories that inform and inspire. At MHFI, our mission is to unleash the power of storytelling, to break barriers and foster a nurturing society for mental health and well-being. We aim to bring about positive change through the compelling narratives we share. In this Igniter Spotlight, we share 3 essential questions that shed light on this topic.
Tackling the stigma around men's mental health is incredibly important to me. On a broad level, it's important to tackle the stigma because men taking their own life is the biggest single killer of men my age. 75% of people who are suicide are male, making suicide a very male problem. On a personal level, tackling the stigma is important, as sadly I've had to say goodbye to more than one mate who has taken their own life. By tackling the stigma, we can seek to reduce the shame that is associated with mental ill health. This sense of shame that's attached, that creates stigma, leads to people feeling alone and isolated, and this only further compounds their mental ill health. If we can reduce or eliminate this stigma, we can hopefully create a society where men feel more comfortable seeking help for their mental health.
In my mind, stigma is very complex, and it deals with us in so many interrelated ways. So it happens on a private level, but it also happens on a structural level. And that means stigma is not only a personal experience, but it's a social one too. And tackling stigma, therefore, is important because it affects us all. And it must be, therefore, a collective effort.
Tackling the modern day stigma of mental health, especially men's mental health, is important to me because I feel, as someone who has had my own mental health issues, we are afraid of the consequences when we do speak up that we are struggling. And as a man, we're growing up, you're always meant to hear that you're strong and nothing can hold you down, and really there is that mental health issues which can hold you physically down without knowing. And yeah, I think it is important to tackle these issues just so men know that, they're not weak to speak.
One way that I actually try to tackle the stigma is try and share my own experiences with other male friends. I find that when you open up to other men on a personal level, it's really quite amazing what comes back. I think there's a myth that men don't want to talk about things, that they're closed up and they won't share their feelings. What I've found is that by being vulnerable with your own stories, it allows a space for others to feel safe and share their own. Men will open up and talk. They simply need the right space to do it in. And contrary to what most people believe, once men start talking, they're incredibly hard to stop. There is a huge desire for men to be heard, to tell their story and be listened to.
Knowledge is essential to address stigma, and essential to begin the process of destigmatizing mental illness. Now, what that looked like for me was at the beginning of the year, I took a mental health first aid course, which was an incredible experience. I'm also studying social work, and in my studies there, I'm very, very much interested in mental health reform, policy reform in Victoria, and very much interested in co-design and co-production and lived experience of mental health consumers, and finding ways for advocating for those of us who have had no voice.
what I do to tackle the stigma is simply just by having conversations and being open and honest with my friends. They are hard conversations to have, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel. And what I find as well is when you have those conversations with mates, admitting you are going through some, mental, like depression or anxiety, a few days later or weeks later, you tend to hear back from them saying, I really appreciate what you'd said, and on reflection, they are going through that same thing. And yeah, it is those conversations, especially in person, which I do find are the most eye-opening, because it really is out there and there's quite a few people that are going through the same thing as you.
Some of the ways that people can be more active in reducing the stigma around men's mental health are by normalising the conversation. The more we normalise these conversations and make them less of a taboo topic that's whispered quietly in the corner of the pub so no one can hear, the more we normalise that, the greater chance we have of helping reduce the stigma attached to men's mental health. Every one of these conversations helps shine a light on the subject and may lead to someone seeking help that otherwise wouldn't have. It may even save a life. We can encourage our male friends, family, colleagues, whoever they may be, to go to their GP and get a mental health care plan, see a psychologist, seek help in so many of the ways that are now available to us. We could ask our employers to designate a mental health first aid person in the workplace. We need to not be afraid to ask tough questions. If you see someone struggling, ask them if they're okay. Let them know that you've seen changes in them and that you're concerned. Let them know that it's okay to be struggling and that there's help available.
The only way to destigmatize mental illness is to demystify it. That basically means we must learn what it is that we're dealing with. And I think we must invest in ourselves an openness and a willingness to learn.
Ways people can become more active in reducing the stigma of men's mental health is, again, just having conversations and being open and honest. And as well, just letting people know, even if they are in denial, that they may be struggling, just to say to them, hey, I'm here for you. I think that is the most important thing anyone can say, is those words being, I am here for you, I support you, and I'm just a phone call away.
Thank you, Igniters, for sharing your experiences with us. Your courage and vulnerability in discussing personal journeys are invaluable in advancing our mission to increase mental health literacy and promote well-being. Your expertise and insights will greatly contribute to creating a more supportive and informed community. If you want to join us in igniting change through your experiences, reach out to us at MHFI@mhfignite.com.au.